My name is Aaron. I'm 27 years old. Last year, I moved into a new apartment with a roommate I found online, and to this day, I still don't know who he really was. After quitting my job in Chicago, I decided to move to Seattle, just to start fresh. I needed a break, but Seattle rent, it's brutal. So I started looking for shared housing through an app. Most of the replies were weird, unhinged. One guy even asked if I was okay living with 4 cats and his energy crystals. But then I came across someone who seemed normal. His name was Kyle, 30 years old, said he worked remotely in software development. Didn't smoke, didn't party, quiet, clean. Honestly, he sounded like the perfect roommate. We had a quick video call. He was polite, if a little awkward, and the next week, I moved in. It was a decent 2-bedroom apartment in an older building. Nothing fancy. Kyle was already living there, and my room was unfurnished, but it was clean. At first, everything was normal. We kept to ourselves, split the rent, didn't talk much. Honestly, most days we barely even crossed paths. But after a few weeks, I started noticing things. Kyle never left the apartment. Like, never. I'd leave for work at 8 in the morning, come back around 6 or 7 in the evening, and every single time he was there. Either sitting in the living room or inside his room with the door slightly open, but always, there. He told me he worked from home, but I never heard typing, never saw a headset, never saw him take a call. Just him, sitting, reading, staring at the wall, not watching anything, not listening to music, just sitting there, in silence. And his face, always blank, calm, empty. Still, I didn't want to judge. Not everyone's outgoing. Maybe he had anxiety. Maybe he was just introverted. Maybe he was going through something. But then, I started noticing small things in my room were wrong. My bag would be unzipped when I know I zipped it. Drawers slightly open. One day, my deodorant was gone, only to show up 2 days later in the bathroom cabinet. A place I never kept it. It was small, minor, but it started to mess with my head. I didn't want to accuse him of anything. I didn't have proof. So I started testing it. I took a small piece of tissue, folded it, and placed it in the corner of my doorframe before leaving for work. If someone opened the door, even slightly, the tissue would fall. That evening, it was gone. Next day, I tried again, this time with a single hair, carefully placed across the doorknob. Gone again. Someone was entering my room. I didn't have hard evidence, but my gut was screaming, and deep down, I knew exactly who it was. That night, I didn't sleep. I just laid in bed, staring at the ceiling. Next morning, I brought it up, casually. Hey, did you go into my room last night? I think I left the door unlocked or something. Kyle didn't even blink. He just said, no, why? I shrugged, tried to act relaxed. My stuff felt moved. He looked me dead in the eyes. Maybe you move things in your sleep. Then walked away. That same night, I stayed up, lights off, pretending to sleep. At exactly 2:40 a.m., I heard my bedroom door creak open. I stayed completely still, breathing slow, shallow. Footsteps, soft, careful. Then the sound of my desk drawer opening. My heart was pounding so loud, I thought he'd hear it. About a minute later, the footsteps retreated. The door clicked shut. Next morning, I checked the drawer. My passport was gone. I confronted him, calmly. Hey, Kyle, have you seen my passport? He didn't even flinch. No, why? Drawer was open this morning. He sipped his coffee. You sure you didn't misplace it? Same blank face, no emotion, no concern, nothing. Just testing me. I didn't say anything else. I went straight to the building manager and told him, I'm moving out. Today. Didn't tell Kyle. I waited until he left, probably to get groceries or whatever the hell he did. I packed up everything I could into 2 suitcases, left behind a few things I didn't want to carry. As I was rolling the suitcase down the hall, I heard his door open behind me. Leaving already? He said. I turned around. He was standing there, barefoot, holding a glass of water, calm, unbothered. I forced a smile. Yeah, got a job offer closer to downtown, starting tomorrow. He stared at me, just for a second, then gave a small nod. Well, good luck. That was it. No anger, no questions. I left, and I never looked back. But that wasn't the end. 3 weeks later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was the building manager. Hey, Aaron, you said your roommate's name was Kyle, right? Yeah, why? He paused. Police came by today. Apparently the guy living in your old apartment wasn't named Kyle. My stomach dropped. His real name's Brent Keller. He's got a record, restraining orders, stalking, false identity, used someone else's ID to sign for a P.O. box in your building. I felt sick. What did he do? I asked. The manager's voice got quieter. They found a locked box in his room. Inside, IDs, credit cards, a few photos. Photos of what? He took a breath. Of you, sleeping, brushing your teeth, cooking, taken through the crack in your bedroom door. Dozens of them. I gave the police everything I remembered, but they said Brent had vanished. No trace, no family, no trail. I moved again. New job, new number, new building, top floor studio, no roommates, and every single night, before I go to bed, I make sure the door is locked. Then I double check, and sometimes I still wonder if he's watching. My name is Robin. I'm 27 years old, and I live alone in a small, worn-out apartment complex on the edge of the city. Not the cleanest place by any means, with peeling paint and flickering lights, but it's quiet, cheap, and I've never really minded the silence. I work night shifts at a logistics company doing data entry. Boring stuff, repetitive and mindless, which means I spend my days sleeping while the world moves around me, and my nights working while the rest of the city shuts down and goes to bed. It's a rhythm I had gotten used to. Simple, predictable, peaceful, until the night she moved in. It was a Tuesday night, a little past 1 a.m., and I had just reached my door and was fumbling with my keys when I heard soft, deliberate footsteps behind me coming up the stairwell. I turned around, and that's when I saw her for the first time. She looked young, maybe 24, 25 at most, dressed in a long black coat, headphones in, expression unreadable, and she gave me the slightest nod before walking straight past me and into apartment 3B, the unit directly across from mine. That apartment had been empty for over a year. I knew that for a fact, because I lived right opposite, and not once had I seen anyone move in or out. She didn't say anything else that night, and I didn't ask, but after that, I began seeing her more and more, always at odd hours, always coming and going quietly, dressed in the same kind of dark, oversized clothing, and never, not once, with anyone else. We didn't talk, not until the night a package meant for her was mistakenly dropped off at my door. The label on the box read, Lamia S., and that was the first time I ever learned her name. I knocked on her door, and she opened it just a crack, took the package without meeting my eyes, muttered a quiet, thanks, and closed it again before I could say anything else. Over the following days, I couldn't help but notice how odd her presence was. She came and went at strange hours, sometimes disappearing for days, and sometimes returning just before dawn. And during the night, when I was home, I began hearing strange noises from her side of the hallway. Muffled voices, soft music playing and fading suddenly, drawers opening and slamming shut, sometimes once, sometimes multiple times in a row, but never loud enough to complain about, just enough to make you wonder. Then one night, I came home and saw a man standing outside her door. He looked to be in his late 30s, with a short beard and a nervous expression, like he couldn't decide whether to knock or just turn around and leave, and he had nothing with him. No tools, no delivery bag, no explanation for why he would be standing there. So I asked casually, "Hey, you looking for someone?" He jumped, visibly startled, muttered something about being on the wrong floor, and hurried down the stairs without looking back. I stood there for a moment, staring at her door, feeling a weird sense of unease. Her lights were off, the hallway was quiet, and I didn't hear a single movement from inside. I tried to brush it off, just a random guy who got confused. But things only got stranger from there. 3 nights later, When I got back from work a little after 2 a.m., I opened the stairwell door and immediately noticed a strong, metallic smell in the hallway. Something sharp and sour, like rusted iron mixed with bleach. The kind of smell that makes your nose twitch and your stomach turn. It was strongest near her door. I knocked. No response. I knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. Feeling unsettled, I went into my apartment and sat by the peephole, watching her door, waiting for something. About half an hour later, a faint light flickered on underneath her door, and I saw a couple of shadows move across the floor, but the door never opened, and no sound followed. The next day, I called in sick. I told myself I just needed some rest, that maybe I was overthinking things, maybe I was being paranoid. But that night, everything changed. It was around 12:45 a.m., and I had just stepped inside my apartment, locked the door, and taken off my shoes when I heard a sudden, loud thud come from her apartment, like something heavy had crashed to the ground. And then, silence. I stood still for a moment, waiting to hear more, but there was nothing. Not a footstep, not a breath. I knocked on her door, once, then again, louder. Still nothing. I didn't know her well enough to call the cops, and I didn't want to look like some creep spying on his neighbor. But something in my gut told me that something was seriously wrong. So I did something incredibly stupid. Something I never thought I'd actually do. I picked the lock. It was a skill I had picked up from an old college roommate. Nothing serious, just messing around with cheap doorknobs and junk locks. I never thought I'd actually need to use it. It took a few tries, but the knob finally clicked, and I slowly pushed the door open and stepped inside. The apartment was dark, but surprisingly clean, almost empty. There was a small couch, a basic desk, and a single mattress on the floor. It looked normal, until I noticed the blood. A faint, dried trail along the floor, barely visible in the dark, but once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. And it led straight from the living room toward the bathroom. The bathroom door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open slowly, and my stomach dropped. There was no one inside, but the floor was streaked with dark stains, like someone had tried cleaning it in a hurry but gave up halfway. And then I saw her phone. It was lying on the edge of the sink, the screen cracked, but still on, still unlocked. I picked it up, hands shaking, and opened her messages. There were only a few, all from a number labeled unknown. "Don't make me come there. You said it was done. Where's the rest?" There were no replies, no context. I backed out of the bathroom, pulse racing, and that's when I heard it. Keys at the front door. Someone was coming in. There was no time to think, no closet to hide in, no window to jump from, so I did the only thing I could. I squeezed into the narrow space between the fridge and the wall, cramped, barely wide enough for my body, heart pounding so loud I was afraid it would give me away. The front door creaked open. Heavy footsteps entered. It was a man. I could hear him walking around like he knew the place, like he'd been there before. No hesitation, no questions. He went straight to the bathroom. There was a pause. Then I heard a low sigh and a faint clink, like metal brushing against porcelain. Then he spoke. He was on the phone. "She's not here. No, someone's been here." The door was unlocked. "I don't care. I'll find her. She doesn't get to walk away from this." And then he left, slammed the door behind him. I didn't move for 20 minutes. I just stayed curled in that tiny space, unable to breathe, feeling like if I moved, I'd die. When I finally got out, I locked the door behind me, went straight to my apartment, and didn't sleep for a second. And the next morning, she was gone. Her apartment, completely empty, no furniture, no mattress, no couch, like she had never been there. I asked the landlord about 3B. He looked genuinely confused and said, "There's no one in that unit. Hasn't been for months. We had water damage. That place is locked up." I said, "No, I saw her. I talked to her." But he shook his head and said, "No one has a key to that apartment. It's sealed." But I had been inside. I had seen the blood. I had held her phone. That night, I did the only thing I could think of. I searched her name. I didn't expect much. But one article came up. "Missing persons case. Lamia Saeed, 25, disappeared from her apartment on the east side of the city, last seen 2 weeks ago. Possible involvement with a known trafficking ring. Case still open. My chest went cold. She had been hiding, running from someone, and she ended up in our complex, in apartment 3B. I don't know how she got in. I don't know if she knew the landlord wasn't renting it. Maybe she paid someone. Maybe she just broke in. For the past few nights, a car has been parked across the street. Same car, every night. Tinted windows. Doesn't move until morning. I've started sleeping with my door double locked, a chair under the knob. Sometimes I wonder, should I go to the police? But what would I say? I broke into an abandoned apartment and found a missing woman's phone. They'd arrest me first. So now, I wait. Every time I hear a noise in the hallway, I freeze. Every time I pass by 3B, I feel that same chill crawl up my spine because I don't know if she's still out there or if they think I know more than I should. But one thing's for sure, I should have never opened that door.